The internet
Any of
doesn't.
you traveling to India anytime soon?
No,
Not traveling anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
On plane, by plane, I mean.
Me either.
I'm with a kid.
I'd like to take advantage of that. What is it, 50 megabytes?
India Land in Seattle. I'm doing that thing again this year, Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
They asked me back, so I'm surprised. I'm like, all right, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Cory Doctorow is going to be there, which is pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
and one of the founders of the EFF, who I was just
Right?
shooting for.
Awesome.
I don't want to leave my house anymore. I just
That's the way I feel. I'm like, there was an opportunity for me to come out to LA. I'm like, I think I'm just going to stay home.
I love it when you come out here. That's
I
great.
know. I love it too, but there might be some other traveling involved. Like my son wants to go see some places college-wise, and I'm like, well, I would love to go out to LA. It'd be great, but
I don't know. It seems kind of with a kid, everything gets complicated by three times. So
Yeah.
Wait till you have kids looking all over the country for
JC
colleges.
first 2 years. I no snickering. JC first 2 years, then you can transfer over to a 4-year university.
Yeah, I don't really know what he's going to do.
It's just
He wants to do art school.
Well, so this is the great thing about, at least in California, I don't know how well it works outside. First 2 years immediately transferable to any UC or CSU in the state. So all the credits you build up, all the courses you take, instantly transferable. So you effectively are able to transfer over and get straight into your major without having to worry about taking all your prerequisites. And it's cheaper. I mean, granted, they'll be at home, but whatever. It's not like I want to keep.
My one son wants to go to art school next year, and we're looking at the numbers. It's like, there's no way. So it's sort of ironic that we can't pay for art school because his father is an artist. Which I find very,
Yeah.
there's poetic justice in that.
You should have used the model. My dad was a doctor, and whenever people would ask him, well, are any of your kids going to go become doctors themselves? He would always say, I won't let them.
Yeah.
We never had any interest, but
You are
that was
forbidden.
always just like,
Well, in this case, he's a really incredible artist, and I think he could really benefit from it. But I don't think he needs to go to art school. That's just my personal feeling.
Is this old man Peralta? You don't need to go to art school, kid.
No, I can teach him what he needs to know.
I can teach you what you need to know.
It's different than being a doctor. I can't teach him to be a doctor.
That's for sure.
by the way, on this last story with regards to like tech conferences.
Oh yeah.
I can actually give some. We actually have a client that works in commercial real estate
Oh,
in
cool.
all over the state of California. I got some sort of insight on like that behavior with.
Oh,
all
that's
the tech
great.
so
I
can
was
add
going
that
to
in.
just ask you if you had observed anything, having been in Moscone, right? But that's
Well,
even better.
I want to do something that has to do with regards to the construction at Moscone. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the other.
Oh, good. That's fantastic. Oh, yeah. I picked that story in part because you had just been there, so I figured you might have some insight.
Well, yeah, I'll leave stuff for the show, but
Yeah,
it's bizarre. Like Tom, when's the last time you were up in San Francisco?
Oh, it's been a year probably now.
Oh, it will look bizarrely different.
Wow.
It's not a year. I go up. I'll be gone for a week because I live south, but I may not be here. And all of a sudden, I'll see something. It's bizarre how things are changing.
Yeah, I'll be up there at the end of May for Baycon, and I'll be staying with Veronica. I'm not sure if I'll get downtown or not, to be honest, but I actually think it was. I mean, I've been up to San Jose a bunch of times because that's where Eileen's sister lives. But to get up into actual San Francisco, I think it hasn't been since May or June. So not quite a year.
But by the way, I'm assuming because of Eileen's work, does she come to San Bruno to YouTube?
Oh no, she doesn't work at YouTube anymore. So
Oh, I didn't. Oh, that's recent. I'm sorry. I remember she posted something about that.
She works at Fandango. She's a NBC Universal employee now.
I actually know one of the guys who does the PR for Fandango, Harry Medved. Do you know him?
Oh, no, I don't. I'll ask her.
I think
Harry
that's
Medved.
his name. Or do you know what? I may be wrong on that. Hold, let me double check.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to be speaking out of turn,
Yeah,
especially streaming live.
Yeah, she started that in November, so. Even when she was working for YouTube, though, she mostly just worked in LA. She never really went to San Bruno. There were a couple of training things she had to go up there for, but not very often.
Okay.
Cross your fingers. Hope this internet stays.
Yep. Let's get going then. You guys ready?
Yep.
Sure.
Right. We'll start. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Well, that didn't work. Stop that recording. What the heck? Why didn't that worked earlier?
What's going on?
DailyTechNews.com/support.
Oh.
This show is brought to you by...
It's really low. Okay. Well, at least I figured it out. Okay, here we go.
This show is brought to you by audience members like me, not outside organizations. To find out more, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, February 17th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, very happy to have David Spark of Spark Media Solutions, does brand journalism for the tech industry, and fresh off of RSA. How's it going, David?
It's going great. I'm thrilled to be on your show again.
It seems like it's become a yearly event now. RSA happens and David springs forth.
I spring forth. Yeah, it's our 8th year that we covered the conference, and I will say it's changed a little bit since that first time we went 8 years ago.
Yeah, no, different issues, more people, like all of the above.
Well, it's definitely a lot more people. It's grown definitely more than double in size since 8 years ago. But more importantly, I go to a lot of conferences, a lot of events. The security industry changes more drastically on a year-to-year basis than I think any other industry.
Len Peralta alongside, as he usually is on Fridays as well, and we saddled you with an esoteric concept again.
Hey, I bring it on is what I say. Bring it on. That's what I do.
Len illustrates the show. If you're brand new to the show, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Len will be creating some art as we talk and make it available online for you to view and possibly buy if you want. That's all coming up at the end of the show. Let's start off with a couple of stories here. Travelers to India who are using the e-visa program, where you apply for your visa online, will get free SIM cards with a few minutes of talk time and 50 megabytes of data. So you're not getting a lot. But the program will start at New Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport and eventually spread to 15 airports in the country. So you land, forgot to get a SIM card, you've got one. Now you'll have to pay to really fill it up and make a lot of use of it, but they give you a few free minutes and megabytes to get started with. That's all part of Prime Minister Modi's attempt to promote technology in India. Reuters is reporting that SoftBank may pursue a merger of its Sprint property with Deutsche Telebank's T-Mobile in April after a wireless auction with strict anti-collusion rules is over. They can't really talk to each other until April. SoftBank indicated it might consider allowing Deutsche Telebank to keep a majority stake in the combined entity, something that SoftBank didn't want to do before, and Deutsche Telekom had pretty much turned them down a couple of years ago. Now, here are some more top stories. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg posted a manifesto, 5,800-word letter or so, on Thursday to address one of Facebook's most important questions, as he put it: are we building the world we all want? So he's setting his sights high. Zuckerberg described 5 new goals in depth to help users build communities that are supportive, safe, informed, civically engaged, and inclusive. Several times he referred to improving social infrastructure to achieve these various aims. And he also discussed his concern about sensationalism and the need for Facebook to help expose people to multiple perspectives, not just two sides of an issue. Again, I know that he has said he doesn't want to become president, but wow, a 5,800-word position paper sure, again, feels political in a way, doesn't it, David?
Yeah, it's a tad kind of presidential sounding, but I don't think has he. He's put things out opinion wise in the past, but never anything of this kind of level of about how to sort of join the community as well. So he definitely has not shown this behavior in the past, and um, I would like to see political aspirations, and as we have seen, that someone who has no political background can become president. So it is very possible.
It wouldn't be the first time. It probably isn't the last time. It is a very good read. The fact that it's Mark Zuckerberg posting it on Facebook about his product is what makes it odd. Otherwise, it's a fairly uncontroversial look at, hey, we're all in this together. How do we make things better in the world? Here are some thoughts on the matter. I mean, I really like what he wrote. I don't agree with every single thing in here by any stretch, but I like the general idea of, hey, folks, we have all of this technology and all of these interconnections, and we're having a hard time dealing with them sometimes. How do we use that to make things better? It's this part where he talks about wanting to build a better world. And it's right there in the first paragraph. On our journey to connect the world, we often discuss products we're building and updates on our business. Today, I want to focus on the most important question of all. And in my head, I'm reading the most important product of all, the Earth. Like, I kind of feel like Facebook thinks of us all as their product.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't have a product if it weren't for all of us and the sheer number of it. But one of the things that I thought was interesting when you mentioned technology and he referenced artificial intelligence, and he made a sort of a reference to the fact that we often kind of skew to the negative of, when we want to use rather advanced technologies. And this is always been kind of an aggravation that I have. And it's not just technologies, just like whenever you introduce something new, people immediately go to, what if this happened? What if, they immediately go to the fear of, the sort of the catastrophic fear of something happening. And innate nature, we won't be able to sort of change people's innate nature of it. But if we make people aware that we actually do that, how like we all kind of have behaviors that we know we do that we don't like. But if we just kind of point this out, like, hey, just so you know, you kind of all do this every time we introduce something new. You get kind of scared about it. Just be aware you're doing it. It rarely, if ever, happens, but just be aware.
Yeah. He actually mentions the old maxim, and it's not something he invented, but he mentions the maxim of we always overestimate what we can achieve in 2 years and underestimate what we'll achieve in 10 years. And it kind of plays into what you're saying. We always overreact to the negatives of any new announcement and sort of underestimate what the real risks might be, I think. And you've just had a week of that sort of thing at RSA, haven't you?
Well, I would also just very quickly add that like whenever I present about technology, I'll inevitably just get someone to raise their hand and go, and literally with no sort of context or anything, and just derail my conversation. They'll go, well, what about security? I'm like, well, what about, like,
yeah,
like, I don't know where to start.
Sometimes
like,
that's a great question. If you're saying, hey, here's a new Internet of Things device and it does this, this, and this, and that. What about security? Great question. If you're talking about technology can change our world and someone says, what about security? It's like, yes.
Exactly.
The answer to that is yes, there should be security. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know where to start, but yeah. By the way, IoT, which was although I wasn't as aware of it, IoT was a very big issue at RSA this year, because I'm sure you've reported on a lot. There's a lot of insecure IoT devices out there.
Oh yeah, no, you ain't kidding. AT&T announced Thursday it will no longer require a TV service subscription in order to get its unlimited wireless data plan. A single line now costs $100, up to $180 for 4 lines. Customers can use up to 22 gigabytes before becoming subject to occasional slower data speeds. You just get put to the back of the line if the node gets busy, essentially. AT&T does not provide tethering with its unlimited plan. So this is a cascade that began when Verizon announced unlimited data for its customers. T-Mobile, which already does unlimited data, then increased the quality of the video you can get on its unlimited plan and added a tethering option. And now AT&T is getting into the fray too. I mean, David, this is actually the result of real competition in action.
Yeah, isn't that kind of nice? That like competition is forcing changing in pricing. I mean, before we went on air, I was talking about like this is the one thing we all can talk about and get aggravated about it equally. And the thing that was, and AT&T, by the way, was the biggest loser on this conversation of dollar per megabit. I remember seeing charts that, the ones who delivered the sort of the best price per megabit being pushed was, I believe Comcast was pretty much high up there, and AT&T was down there below. I mean, I used to be getting AT&T and paying the same price as everybody else, but I was getting 12 down and 1.5 up.
Yeah.
Yikes.
No.
I'm getting a little better now. I have actually, believe it or not, municipal cable. My town has municipal cable. How many towns still have municipal cable? Mine does. And so that's how I get my internet.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, right? When you're talking wired internet like you are right now, and you want internet, usually you only, in the United States, you only have an option. Maybe you have two. With wireless, though, on a nationwide scale, we have 4 competitors. Now, we just heard that SoftBank and Deutsche Telekom might be talking about eliminating one of those, and I don't like that idea. Granted, Sprint is not doing well, and so, it's hard to imagine why you wouldn't want to sell Sprint if you're SoftBank or merge it or whatever. But T-Mobile was supposed to merge with AT&T. That merger was not approved, and T-Mobile went on to become, from the back of the pack, they were 4th behind Sprint at the time, a very competitive entity. So it's not impossible for Sprint to do the same thing. I would like to see that play out.
Well, that would be interesting. Like, ironically, I used to actually work for Sprint many years ago, doing advertising for them, and I will just tell you, I can't speak for AT&T or T-Mobile, the others, but they are a big moving organization, and so it's kind of hard to get things rolling. And
not everybody
I
has a John Legere who's willing to just go up and swear their way back into competition.
Thing is that they T-Mobile had this sort of forceful CEO that kind of had this and it was like, all right, like there was a sense that they could spin on a dime. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that, but that was sort of the brand that they were putting out there.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it shines a light on one of the other problems here, which is it's very difficult to enter these kinds of markets. You don't see a lot of companies fighting to become the new entry into wireless in any market, not just the United States. And if I were a regulatory agency, I would focus on improving the conditions for that. What can you do to make it easier for competition to enter the market? Because if Sprint is just not going to be able to survive for whatever reason, that would be okay if there was another entrant like US Cellular maybe, or one of the regionals or one of the MVNOs who could climb their way up beyond them. But what we look at is, oh, well, if Sprint can't compete, it needs to merge with somebody else and reduce the number of entrants.
That is true. And the other thing I was just thinking is that, we have a new president who's very pro deregulation, and could that, I don't know if he's spoken specifically about the telecom industry, but I know he just sort of generally talks about how he wants to deregulate a lot. So into decisions here as well.
Yeah. NVIDIA will supply the Tokyo Institute of Technology with GPUs to power the Tsubame 3.0 supercomputer, taking over from the Tsubame 2.5. The Tsubame 3.0 will launch this summer, powered by several Pascal-based NVIDIA Tesla P100 GPUs. It is expected to reach 12.2 petaflops of double precision performance, and it will be used for artificial intelligence purposes, mainly in both education and research applications. They'll be doing that for Tokyo Tech as well as for private sector use. You can rent this thing out if you have the funds and the need. Got any supercomputer applications you've been waiting to run, David?
No, actually none whatsoever. The petaflop does not even enter my lexicon at all. Ever.
Yeah, there's a sector of people out there who are supercomputer fans, and they love to rank these and keep an eye on who's leading. China has lately been leading in supercomputer rollouts. The United States is very strong, and Japan is a tough fighter there as well. I think the other angle on this that's really interesting is NVIDIA becoming the de facto chip maker for this level of computer. I mean, it's
that is impressive. Like, because you just don't hear them in those discussions until now.
Fortune reports a source told it Friday that Apple will start having iPhone SEs assemble at a plant in Bangalore, India, which would likely be the Wistron plant. Wistron does assemble phones, has contacts with Apple, and Wistron has been previously, in previous leaks, rumored to be the one that would do this. Makes sense. Sources also told the Economic Times of India that Apple plans for 300 to 400,000 SE handsets to be assembled in India. Reuters sources had reported a lower number, so whether that's just a difference in the sources or a change in the approach, we don't know. And apparently Apple won't not do this if it doesn't get a tax break. It would like a tax break in India for building locally, but it sounds like, again, what the sources are saying, that they plan to go ahead either way. And that would be important because they do want to have locally assembled products that they can sell in an Apple store, because India has limits on the number of foreign sourced parts, components that you can sell in a single branded store like Apple's.
And is the intention to manufacture them there and sell them there? Like, these are not going to be exported, or imported.
I suppose they could be exported, but yeah, the main point is we're making them here and selling them here for sure. It's a way for Apple to get into that Indian market, which, if they want to improve those iPhone sales, that is the next market. They certainly have a lot of work to do in China still to build that, but they have at least entered that market. India is a market where they sell iPhones in India, but they haven't been able to really crack the market. And certainly part of cracking the market is being able to have Apple stores there. We wondered yesterday if there was anything more than price and convenience to the decision by Apple to move its WWDC conference from San Francisco to San Jose this year. Wendy Lee and Trisha Thadani at San Francisco Chronicle wrote an article examining what those reasons might be, especially considering that Google moved I/O from San Francisco to Mountain View last year, and this year Facebook is moving F8 from San Francisco to San Jose. One reason particular to this year's WWDC dates is that the Moscone Center is expanding and has had to shut down its north and south halls for the work from April to August. Now, Moscone West is usually where WWDC is, but that limits the amount of space available. It makes it more competitive, and it's also just not nice when you have a bunch of work being done. San Francisco Travel Association does say it hasn't seen a decline in spending for conventions and meetings in San Francisco and doesn't expect one. So even if Apple and Google and Facebook aren't doing conferences there, the shoe salesmen and the dentistry associations and the waste management conferences might be making up the slack. I don't know. David, you were just there at Moscone. Do you have any insights on this?
So I have a handful of general insights. One is, I do know the construction is disrupting things. And so this, I think, is just a temporary thing. Like, for example, the VMworld conference was also in San Francisco, and they moved to Las Vegas this most recent year. And as I understand, for 2 more years because of this construction, they'll be in Las Vegas. But when I heard VMworld move because of the construction, and then I saw Dreamforce, which is way bigger. I mean, that's a 6-figure audience that goes to Dreamforce. It's insanely huge. And then I believe Oracle Open World is staying there, and Larry Ellison's kind of been committed to San Francisco, like never ever leave. So I don't think he's going to ever go. But the other thing, just in general, of San Francisco, and I was talking to you before about, have you been to the city yet? Out of control all over the city. The Salesforce Tower, which is currently now the biggest building in the city, bigger than Transamerica, that's going to be done at the end of this year. There's so many more office buildings that are being done in 2018. I mean, there's so much just population moving here that you could feed events at Moscone with the population that's coming here. I mean, a lot of times to try to bring a population to maybe a less attractive area, or an area that can handle the volume of people. But I think what the big problem is that with all this new construction, you're going to have 2 huge issues. Number one being there is not enough housing. I mean, housing's a big issue, but this building's going up, people are going to have to live somewhere where they're going to work, and that's going to be another uptick. So watch end of 2017 and 2018 major housing. And then also, while San Francisco supposedly is I think the highest capita or highest number of restaurants per capita kind of a thing, I think they're going to need a lot more.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the attractions, right? Is, oh, we'll have our conference in San Francisco, even if we're down in San Jose, which, if people don't understand, San Jose is about an hour's drive from San Francisco. It can be more than an hour with traffic, but that's, you know,
if you go during, it'll be double that time.
Yeah, it's an hour's drive on an empty road. And so the idea is like, well, it's not that far, and you have the beautiful San Francisco Bay and the Golden Gate Bridge and restaurants galore. And if it becomes, and this is where I was going, if it becomes a 3-hour drive because of traffic, because of transit backups, if you can't get into any of the restaurants because it's too crowded and there's too many people there, then it becomes less of an attractive option for a tech company that wants to bring its conference in and has most of its employees down on the peninsula in San Jose and everyone else coming in from out of town anyway.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There is a cachet to being in San Francisco. I mean, I've been to San Jose conferences, and it doesn't have quite the pizzazz of being in San Francisco. There's no doubt about it. It's if the big players who have money galore, like RSA, like Dreamforce, are going to stay. The ones who are going to become more cost conscious are going to leave.
Well, and Apple isn't necessarily cost conscious, but they are definitely control conscious. They are environment conscious, and they're building a brand new campus that's going to have an auditorium in it. They may decide that they just want to hold these things in that brand new campus because they spent all the money on it.
Yeah, well, Apple's a much. I mean, I would say Google's probably in the same boat as them, being more control.
Hey, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in less than 10 minutes, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. That's a look at our top stories right now. Let's talk a little bit about what you saw at RSA, David, starting with scale. One of the things you were hearing people talk about, and David, for people who want to know, was out talking to people at the conferences, both RSA and B-sides.
I would say
getting the temperature of the room.
I've talked to hundreds of people at the conference, lots.
So what was and some of the trends you've identified, one of them was scaling. What were some of the things you were hearing about the ability to scale security?
So this is not a new issue. Let me start with that. The need to scale security, because the problem of security has become so big and has grown so exponentially that you can't throw enough money or bodies at the problem to solve it. It's just impossible. So what can we do to be smarter about how we do security? And the big thing that came up, I mean, we'll get into sort of how to staff people in a second, but the big issue of machine learning and artificial intelligence. See, years ago, companies get hammered with thousands and thousands of sort of attempted attacks onto a network. And the big thing is, well, I don't need to know all the attempts. I just need to know if someone actually broke in. So they trigger an alert. That came out, like Tripwire being one of them, a company we actually worked with for a while, that told you about the alert, came up. But now what's happening is the alerts are so intense. There's so many alerts that are happening that now, and there's not enough people to look at the alerts. Now you need more education around the alerts themselves.
Well, it's a big data problem. You need to sift through the alerts. So you just hit the nail on the head, because big data was not as prevalent about 6 years ago as we are today, and also we have the disk space and the compute power to deal with that. So because of just that, more context can be put on alerts, and now it becomes an easier job for someone who has some security training to look at this stuff and make sense of it. So that's the one thing. The other issue with regard to scaling is, Cisco came out with a report that said we are 1 million people deficient worldwide in security personnel. Now that number is way, way higher now, but it's just kind of a number that they threw out there. But it's clear we're way deficient on security professionals. You just can't hire that many people that quickly. You just can't train it. So how do you solve that problem? Making security only the security team's problem. It's kind of everybody's problem. And where we saw that more is we saw elements. There was this whole area at RSA where specifically training kids and teenagers about security, and also training the elderly on security, which I thought was very interesting. Something they had actually started either last year or the year before, but now it's becoming even more and more prevalent. So you do a little machine learning around these alerts to figure out which ones you need to pay attention to, and then you do more training.
And by the way, a lot of vendors were claiming them.
And you do a lot of training of people to say, hey, here's how you make sure you don't let someone in by opening an attachment or getting phished or this or that.
That is one of them. And yeah, I mean, you know, have you had a family member that's ever been phished or gotten nailed? I mean, my mom unfortunately got hit by something, and it was one of those things where just after it happened, she called me and told me what happened. It was like one of those things where I put my head down. I was like, oh, yeah. All right, we got to melt that computer down.
Well, and it happens to everybody. And in fact, it's one of the big ways that the other trend, one of the other trends I want to talk to you about has risen to such prominence. Ransomware is someone usually opens a piece of malware by accident or clicks on a link that installs the malware, and then it locks up the system. You were telling me that it's bigger than ever, ransomware. It's huge, and that there are new vectors.
Yeah, so the whole thing with ransomware, for those who aren't aware, it essentially encrypts all your data and says, if you want your data back, you pay me. Now, here's the part that's bizarrely scary of it. The whole vector of making money from hacking in general was really around credit cards. And the whole credit card hacking thing is actually a rather manually intensive process of you actually have to get cards verified, you actually have to test them, things like that. Ransomware is actually 100% automated. Thanks to Bitcoin, you could set up a Bitcoin account. There are kits here for ransomware. You just set it up. It's literally a set it and forget it, and you watch money roll in. Now, I should mention they put up a ransom and you pay to get it decrypted. Maybe not. Who knows? It depends on
that they will.
Yeah, that's what you're playing on. Hope right there. So I had heard about this story last year. This year, I would say like 40%, because I was interviewing people. Actually, I was doing some videos for Cylance, who makes a anti-malware product, and I was asking people just about bad malware stories. And I would say a good 40% of the people I talked to had a ransomware story. It is, and we're talking on the individual basis, up to corporations. Like I heard one story of a whole hospital getting taken down because of ransomware. I mean, that is literally, we're now at life-threatening moments.
Yeah. Well, okay, when spam was at its peak, the smart attackers were moving on to credit cards. When credit cards were at its peak, the smart attackers were moving on to ransomware. I'm oversimplifying, obviously. What are the smart attackers doing so that we can keep an eye out for that?
So this one's a doozy, and I was talking to a guy by the name of Scott Borg, who's the director and chief economist, essentially the CEO of the U.S. Cyber Consequences Unit. And for years, I think like a dozen years, they have been predicting the next trend in security, and to kind of an amazing level of accuracy too. And what he talked about, which I found incredibly fascinating, is you're going to see more attacks that are directly against our financial markets. Now, maybe, and not necessarily direct, but I said the word direct, but actually indirect. So he claims that there are people who actually shorted airline stocks before the Al-Qaeda attacks on 9/11. What you're going to see is more cases where people are going to be shorting things before they do attacks to actually make money from our financial markets. And that is going to be, and tracking that and trying to find that will be close to impossible. And more importantly, while like the ransomware I'm telling you about, you can make a few $100s at a pop here, we're talking like millions and millions are going to be garnered from this. And those will be far more sophisticated attacks. And you will see a lot more of that happening. So that's the big thing we have to watch out for. And that could be financially crippling for all of us. Like one attack could take down, a financial market for that matter.
Sure. So there's the fallout of the effects of the attack itself, and then there's the market fallout of people nefariously trying to short, which is basically you're betting on the fall of a stock in that case, and they know it's going to fall because they know they're the ones who are going to make the value fall when they do the attack. And that's hard to detect. It's not impossible to detect, but it's hard to detect because people short things all the time because they think they know what's going to happen. That's why there's a market for it. And so just because someone is shorting something doesn't mean an attack is coming. It's going to be difficult to tell when something's being shorted because of market intelligence and when it's being shorted because of a nefarious actor.
You summed it up beautifully, Tom.
My God, yeah. Well, it's that's crazy, and that brings up the Bruce Schneier warning about the Internet of Things and distributed denial of service attacks as being even more important, if you didn't already think it was important, because
I will
that's
tell you
one of the big vectors, right?
Yes. So one malware story I heard, and unfortunately, when I was interviewing people about malware stories, they only could give me sort of little snippets of information. But as I like to say, I refer to RSA as the scare the crap out of me festival, because I learned something every year about can get attacked. And here's the thing, and you probably remember this. Remember a few years back, Tom, where not getting attacked meant just being smart?
Yeah.
About being online?
Just don't click on anything
those
weird.
days
You're
are
fine.
long over. Yeah. Those days, like, everyone is susceptible. Those days are so long over. But the one story that I heard, and again, unfortunately, I don't know the full details of it, but a story of an IoT device that was able to push information to a desktop, and specifically, they targeted someone with child pornography to try to implicate them. And that story I have not heard before, and it was through an IoT device.
So they were not. Let me make sure I get this straight. It was someone who didn't have that on their drive, but they were putting it there they were planning to get there to frame them.
They're planning on somebody's. So the person who received it now had to try to explain, that's not mine, I didn't put it there, which,
right. Yeah. I mean, that's
not an easy thing to get yourself out of.
Yeah.
And, by the way, I tried to push for more answers and I could not get more answers out of this, but it was, by the way, things were cleared, but geez, I mean, how do you get off of that stigma? That ain't easy.
Real quickly, one of the other things you brought up was the cybersecurity poverty line. So as these attacks get more sophisticated, defending against them gets more sophisticated. What's the minimum you need to have in order to exist safely?
So that varies whether you're an individual or whether you're a corporation. And the sad reality is small to medium-sized businesses have to kind of do the same thing like an enterprise has to do. So they may not have either the people or the money to protect themselves appropriately. But by the way, I should quote Wendy Nather of Duo Security. She's the one who came up with this term, the security poverty line. And there are a lot of people below it. Simple, basic things that the individual can do is it's installed, make sure your definitions are up to date, but more importantly, have backups and have offsite backups too as well. I mean, that is kind of a good thing. I should also mention one of the stories I heard about ransomware, and it's not as prevalent as, because most of them are usually just immediate attacks, but sometimes they do sit dormant and let you make multiple backups. So when they do trigger, many versions of your backups are also encrypted.
So you got to defend your backups as well. Ugh.
I know it's All right.
What the last thing I have to ask you before we move off of this topic and get into something a little lighter, hopefully. You wrote, assuming USB charging ports are just that. I never do. I always assume that USB charging ports are nefarious. Is that paranoid?
I didn't even. I'm glad you think of that already, because it didn't dawn on me until someone else mentioned. Because there were, at the security conference, there were USB charging ports everywhere. There are USB charging ports all over your airport as well. And who knows what's behind that darn thing? You could literally plug your phone into something that's just going to spit something right onto your computer or your phone, for that matter. And don't just think, oh, well, it's in a public space, who's going to mess with this? When I was at the Black Hat conference, there were skimmers being put on soda vending machines for your credit cards everywhere. I mean, it's extraordinarily common to hack physical devices in public spaces. Yeah,
it's not difficult to plant the stuff, and if you want to use those, the thing to do is to get a charge-only cable, a cable that doesn't transmit data, so that if you want to plug into it, all it's doing is sending current. You can get those kinds of cables for your devices.
By the way, that was one of the little freebie giveaways at RSA, the little adapters that allowed you to do.
Sure, that's what they were telling you they were. Hey, thanks to everybody who participates at our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. A few things before we're out of here. MAWCS, he's Mike, but we'll call him Mox, was listening to our episode. We were talking about the Skype Hangout scenario, and he has sent this to me before. He wanted to mention Jitsi at jit.si. He says, I think this meets all your needs. Just send someone a link to video conference, check. Auto switching, check. Live stream to YouTube. This is the part I didn't realize. Check. It handles your recording. Screen sharing, check. Password protection, share YouTube videos, share whiteboard, raise hands. A lot of things that we don't even need on this show, but you might be interested in. Hangouts used to have this, but it disappeared. It's great for webinars, forums, or Patreon roundtables, the raising hand thing. Plus, of course, text chat. And it's open source. So you can check it out at jit.si. He's also got a test chat that he put out there if you want to jump into that as well. So thank you, Mox. We will be trying this out. My last remaining question about Jitsi is who handles the bandwidth? Because one of the nice things about Hangouts is that Google's handling all the bandwidth. So, for instance, David is in a friend's house right now, which is very nice of the friend to allow you the bandwidth. But that situation might not allow for all of the streaming, but he doesn't have to worry about that because Google's handling all the streaming. Send your pics to us, folks.
That service sounds cool. I'm going to check it out as well.
Send your pics to us at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. A couple other things here. Rich Straffolino, who'll be on the show on Tuesday, by the way, said, in theory, I like the idea of having job postings on my company's Facebook pages. My problem is that I don't trust what happens to my public profile when I interact with something on Facebook. If I don't want my current employer to know I'm job hunting, I'd be very hesitant to like a job post for fear that it would tip off someone from work. The problem is that Facebook encourages you to be friends across your work and personal life, and it's not even that I think Facebook is overlooking this. I'm sure they've engineered ways to make it discreet. It's just that the weird alchemy of how the news feed works is so opaque, I have a hard time being sure it won't come back to bite me. So this is in regards to Facebook pages allowing for job listings, sort of taking a little bit of LinkedIn's thunder away. Would you worry, David, about posting or liking a job posting on Facebook?
I wouldn't, I guess, do that, because my feeling is if I like a job posting, unless it was exactly my kind of title type thing, why would I actually like something if I'm trying to get the job? You know what I mean? I'd probably want to bury it as much as possible so I wouldn't get so much competition. So I would actually, that would actually deter someone to believe that I'm actually going for that job. If I'm liking it, I want my friends to get the job.
Interesting.
I wouldn't worry it so much.
Matt Bat wrote in with something I hadn't thought of. He said he heard us talk about the gig economy and couldn't figure out what Uber or TaskRabbit had to do with the number 1,000. Because he was thinking in the terms of gig as in gigabyte, in meaning 1,000, not gig as in a freelance job, contractor, gig sort of thing. And so he was like, I figured it out now, but I wonder how many other people were confused by that. I hadn't even thought of it, Matt. That's funny. That's a good point.
It didn't literally. Him mentioning it now was the first time I thought gigabyte. I actually thought getting a gig because I used to actually work as a stand-up comic, and we referred to them as gigs.
Well, there you go. See, those of us who have done gigs before went there. But you're absolutely right. I could absolutely see that. Alec in Fayetteville, Arkansas, works as an engineer designing, programming, and implementing industrial automation. He says, as you and Justin brought up, 3D printers have really found their place in the enterprise world. And as you pointed out, Internet of Things devices are heading that way as well. From my vantage point in the trenches, the industrial Internet of Things, or as it's sometimes called Industry 4.0, has been around long before it was branded that, really since the advent of Ethernet industrial protocol. Industrial automation has had the ability to be networked, data recorded, reported, etc. Between all of that, a VPN and a network of cameras, I can run about half of the plant from my smartphone at home. What will prevent Internet of Things, industrial Internet of Things, from penetrating the way 3D printers have are the costs associated with implementation. They're great products. They can automate a lot of material tasks that aren't terribly expensive, but they aren't tolerant to variation. Take something as simple as sorting boxes on a conveyor to different exits based on shipping method. If you have more than one box size, how do you handle that? If the boxes spin on the conveyor, get set on the conveyor crooked, or my favorite, the QR code that the IIoT scanner is looking for is folded halfway over the corner of the box and can't be read, this leads to automating label placement, buying new conveyor components to orient boxes, or an absurd number of scanners to see every side of the box, all of which get expensive. Sorry for the lengthy email, but this is something I deal with every day and see conference flyers all the time with at least 25% of their classes with IIoT in the title. So he also says, side note, where's the blazer you've been wearing the past few weeks from? I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I'll take it off after the show and let you know. But this IIoT thing sounds like a job for machine learning.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would assume pretty much all IoT is kind of a job for machine learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's assuming you have a networked IoT environment, that is.
Well, and that's what IBM is trying to push with Watson. They're saying, we've got the brain back there that could figure out when that box is in the wrong orientation and get the robots and the sensors to fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then finally, in episode 2968, Rich from lovely Cleveland suggested that Amazon might have bought Chime partly to ensure demand for Amazon Web Services as a hedge against a possible drop in demand for utilization from others, and Scott thought that was probably true. Our emailer says, nah. I can see it sounds plausible as an idea, a lot like the urban legend that Amazon originally started AWS to make use of machines that were only busy during holiday shopping. But in both cases, these theories get the size and shape of the market wrong. The capacity of these services is orders of magnitude greater than any use Amazon companies can make of them ourselves. We are a tiny fraction of the total demand. I assume by we, he means Amazon's retail operation. Twig size, not hedge size.
So I didn't realize it's so small. But do you get a lot of calls or conversation from your audience about sort of the competitiveness around Amazon Web Services, or whether they look somewhere else, or is it just because there's this whole sort of trend that everyone's just sort of defaulting to AWS for getting their sort of on-demand compute?
Yeah, I haven't got a lot of feedback on that, but it does seem to be the case that it's AWS unless you've gotten approached or pushed or had some particular niche operation which required you to use somebody else. And then it's Microsoft Azure or Google most of the time.
And Rackspace, unfortunately, has not been doing well, but they've been sort of losing ground. And what I have learned also, HPE will be actually, who had a cloud service before, as I understand, shut it down, but it now looks like they're going to try to come out and be competitive again. So that is to be seen.
Well, thank you, David Spark, for being seen on our show. SparkMediaSolutions.com, of course, the place to catch up with David. And anything else to let folks know about? Obviously, you've got a lot of RSA content.
Yeah, that was so the big thing. I just want to plug the fact that I did a lot of shooting for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which I'm assuming a lot of the people here are great supporters of. And what was very, very nice was when I was at the Security B-Sides conference, which essentially is just before RSA. The love and the warmth towards EFF is enormous. At RSA, I would say only about maybe 40% of the people knew the EFF.
Wow. I would assume most of them would know them, so that's interesting, yeah. No,
it was kind of shocking how low. 100% with B-Sides. And also I should mention that EFF always kind of has a table at the B-Sides events. But yeah, much lower percentage was aware of it. Anyways, we're going to be pumping out some fun stuff all about digital privacy, people's opinions of digital privacy. So that watch out for that on the EFF YouTube channels.
All right. Check that out. That would be youtube.com, I don't know, /EFF, I'm going to guess.
I think it's YouTube. Electronic Frontier Foundation.
You know, DTNS has the same problem. We have to be daily touching the show on YouTube because those short letters, they got snapped up a long time ago. So yeah,
I'm not 100% sure.
Just search Electronic Frontier Foundation on YouTube. You'll find it. I subscribe to the channel,
but it's not available now. We're working on the videos. We're working.
All right. So go find the channel, subscribe, and then the videos will show up.
Exactly. If you subscribe now, you'll finally see them. Exactly.
Thank you, Len Peralta, for illustrating the scariest image you've done in a while.
Yes, it is a little bit scary. You know, at the beginning you issued a challenge saying very esoteric. As I said, bring it on. I love esoteric. You guys talked about ransomware, which I kind of picked up on and wanted to do something a little bit editorial, a little bit interesting. This, I feel, could be something, if there was an article about ransomware, would be kind of an interesting little image.
No, that looks like a Lego man that's been tied up. Is that a Lego man?
A little bit. You know, it's hard. You know, if you look at the USB drive, it's got these two little eyes that I've kind of showcased in the past.
Oh, yeah. So it's a USB drive tied up in a chair, and it totally captures how I would feel if I got
exactly. A little bit scary.
Well, that was the thing, is I was talking to people who actually personally got attacked, and it's just that personal invasion. It seems so insane and so frustrating.
Yeah.
And by the way, I got the combination of responses. Some people paid. Some people actually used public decryption software and we were able to get it. And some people just let it go.
Oh, wow. They just abandoned the data. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's diabolical for sure.
Yeah. Well, folks, I highly, highly encourage you to go check out this image because it really, Len, you outdid yourself. It really captures.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's at lenperaltstore.com. Couple things you may want to look on the front of the page. Some new art there that has just been put up that I did this week. Two new pieces that are in the Fine Art Chiclet. And also I want to mention in 2 weeks I'll be in Seattle for Convey UX. If you're going to be out there for the user experience, not convention, it's a seminar called Convey UX. I'll be drawing live Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday, March 1st, Thursday, March 2nd. 16 hours of live drawing, do it every year. And I'll be doing it online too, so you may want to be able to check it out. But if you're out there, come by and say hello.
Big thanks to everybody who supports the show at patreon.com/DTNS, including Ote Bob, Bruce Pulley, and thanks to Andrew Stewart, who just raised his pledge. If you would like to join them and you haven't already, head to patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Daily Tech headlines in your feed on Monday, off for President's Day here in the U.S., but back on Tuesday with Rich Straffolino. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Good show, you guys.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Len.
Hey, no problem.
I thought you don't live in the city still, do you, Dave? Or do you live like...
No, we moved 5 years ago out. We're not East Bay. We're down in San Bruno. I live just south. We actually live way up in the hills. Like if you're flying in and landing and you hit the runway and you look up to the hills, that's where we are.
Oh, nice.
The moment you hit there. Yeah.
Cool.
So, but you're in the city, aren't you, Roger?
No, I just moved down to LA in December.
Oh my God, I didn't. Oh wow. Where in Los Angeles are you?
Glendale, so it's basically next to Burbank.
Oh, it's a very nice area. I know it well.
Yeah, it's like you were talking about how all those people, not enough housing. Well, I have a kid and the father-in-law.
Well, and that's why you. So I'm sorry. That's why you moved, was because of the lack of housing issue.
Lack of housing. Father-in-law was moving out from New Jersey and wanted to be somewhere that was warm, no snow, and also it's a lot easier for me to find producing work. Outside.
Yeah. Well, it's everyone talks. Here's a big thing. Mark my word. Here's my prediction. Everyone talks about how bad the housing is right now. Wait till there's going to be two upticks: the end of this year and the end of 2018, because it's when all that construction of all that office buildings finish in San Francisco. It's going to get really, really nasty.
I'm wondering if Daly City, because Daly City has always been kind of the redheaded stepchild of the Bay Area in terms of living, right? People move out to Pacifica before they'll move to Daly City.
Well, same thing with my town. But so I'm in San Bruno, and within the first couple of years, I mean, our place has gone up, 50% in value. I mean, it's insane how much things have driven up. I mean, it's kind of crazy how how insane pricing. But yeah, I expect the pricing of everything to go up. But there's a limit. You know what I mean? Like you can't just keep driving prices up because people are only going to generate so much. But then again, up for everybody as well. Who knows? Oh, Len, you just here. I got to share your image. I see. Awesome.
Yes.
All right, so show titles.
What do we got, Roger?
Ellipses, but what about security? Followed up with
That's definitely my favorite.
-T to kind of show the conglomeration of Sprint and T-Mobile. Price and Moscone has San Francisco beat. AT and TV. That's pretty funny. Scaling is good armor against cyber threats. Protect yourself digitally. There's a lot of insecure IoT things out there. So, first malware, then ransomware. Is blackmailware next?
Well, yeah. Well, that's essentially the blackmailware. That's just the what am I saying? The story about the child pornography. That's
the only protection. The only protection is to live like Ned Flanders.
I like that.
Is literally the answer. I mean, that's the only way you can never simple life. You don't have a lot of technology. Just this bare minimum. Can't hack my smartphone if all I have is a feature flip phone. Hack my Nokia.
I like David Spark reports on the Scare the Crap Out of Me festival.
The Scare the Crap Out of Me festival.
It's too long, but it's good.
You can just say the Scare the Crap Out of Me festival. Or I actually say you can put a star, make it the Scare the. I really say the Scare the Shit Out of Me festival is what I say.
Yeah. Because that's literally what it does.
Well, but it's one of those things where you just hear all these stories and you're like, no, really? Oh, now I got something new to worry about. Like, great.
So last night I got to see a preview screening of Logan, but I was required not to mention it until 1:30 Pacific. So now I can mention it.
A few minutes beforehand, didn't you?
Yeah, before we went live, I mentioned it to you guys. So it was great. It was really, really good.
So in the panoply of the comic book movies, where do you rank it? Above or below whom?
It's hard to compare it to the original Avengers movie because it's just different. But it is up there in my top. It's certainly in my top 10. I'd have to really sit down and think about it if I put it in my top 5, but I would consider it for sure.
It's cool.
It's a story about family. It's a story about, a person who's aging, and anyone who has taken care of an older parent and also had a child is going, and any of those experiences is going to see that element in a superhero story.
Okay.
The whole, and I know this is taking from the comic books, but the whole idea of a superhero who's aging, who still has powers, but those powers aren't quite as strong as they used to be, is just something I've never seen in a movie told that way before.
Well, it's interesting because Wolverine has been aging for the past 30 years in Marvel Comics. And part of it is just, the whole mutant healing factor is supposed to allow him, because he's an old guy. He's been around since World War II as an adult. And so it's very interesting because they make him more crotchety, but he's supposedly physically the same. So it was very interesting.
Well, I guess it's based on the Logan comic itself, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't read that, but from what I've heard is the idea there is that he finally is, he's taken a lot longer to age, but he's finally getting old. And they go into part of the reasons of why that's happening in the movie.
Well, I am looking forward to it. We just have to do it during school hours, pretty much. What our kids are. That's the thing. I joke. I stopped looking at Rotten Tomatoes because I almost never get to go out and see a film having two little ones. Roger, how old is yours?
She just turned 2.
Well, congratulations. What's
Perfect
her name?
age.
Eloise, but Ellie for short.
Well, we have a 3 and a 6-year-old ourselves, and although I can take him, I'm going to probably take him to the Lego Batman movie. Have you guys seen that yet?
No, I haven't.
No.
I heard that's great too.
You've seen it, Tom?
No, I haven't, but I've heard it's great.
Yeah, I heard it's great. So I'll most definitely be taking him to that. Maybe we'll do that tonight no, not tonight. Tomorrow. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. We'll see. All right, guys. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you, David. Take care. Have a good time on Tech News Today. Tell Megan and Jason I say hello.
Megan's not there. I'm filling in for her. Actually.
Oh, you're filling in for Megan. Oh, well, tell Jason I say hello.
She's not. She's going to be out. All right.
Well, don't tell her anything because she won't be there.
I won't say anything. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm going to log off too.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
Get the title.
Oh, you know what? I just went ahead and went with, but what about security?
About security. Good.
Yeah.
I like it. I want to see that on a hardcover.
Emphasis on the butt.
As always.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
All
All right. Take care. Have a good weekend, man.
You too. Bye.
Well, it held up. That's good.
Yeah. Knock on wood. So far, so good.
Because it was up before 2 times, and both times they went back down. So I'm wondering if they were fixing the line, testing, and then had to bring it back. I don't know. All I know is it's working. I don't want to jinx it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. It's raining like crazy here now. Again, it's gotten more windy. More windy. It's gotten windier and rainier, and so I'm gonna batten down the hatches. See you on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Talk to you later.